Hello everyone. I wanted to take the time to answer some of the most commonly asked questions about my mentorship program. So I'm going to just break it down for you. So before we get into answering those questions, I just wanted to introduce myself in case you aren't familiar with me. I'm Medium Michael Mayo, and I am a psychic medium as well as a traditional astrologer, and I've been working and developing for about 15 years now, and I've studied all over the world. I've studied in England, Scotland, Ireland, with some of the best teachers that are working today, and I'm really excited to be able to kind of bring that all together to work with you. Through all of my years of working, I've had the chance to experience all kinds of facets of mediumship. I've worked with psychism, mental mediumship, trance, and even physical mediumship. And through these experiences, it's really taught me the real value of what is real mediumship. Grounded, practical approaches that take you from taking spirit as this far off thing and making it into this real, tangible experience that you can have. My greatest passion is to prove the reality of spirit, to show that life, like love, is eternal. So now let's jump into the questions. The first common question that comes to me is, what am I going to get out of my first experience? So once you've made the decision to work with me, in our very first session, the first thing I always ask my students is, why now? Why do you want to take this mentorship? Where are the goals that you want to go to? And also, where have you come from and where are you going? So we're really going to be exploring and expanding on what ways we can move you from where you are to where you want to be. And once I know where it is you want to go, then what we're going to see is what is keeping you from getting there. So we're going to examine your blocks. We're going to look at the different things that are keeping you where you are and keeping you from where you want to go. Then we're going to discover a plan of action on how, from what I can see, what I can perceive, we're going to be able to tackle these things. In this first session too, we're also going to get the opportunity to get to know each other, as well as answer any questions that you have, whether these things are about, am I a medium or a psychic? Is there more to my abilities because I've had this experience or this experience? So we're going to be able to kind of unpack any of the things that you have happened to help you to understand what those might mean for you in regards to your overall development. So once I know the plan of action, I know where we're going, I know what your blocks are, then if you're just beginning your journey, then we're going to start to go into the foundational steps of developing your mediumship or psychism or trance, whatever it is that we're working on. If you're more experienced, then I'm going to give you the opportunity to probably do a reading, whether that's going to be me or on a student that I bring in. That way I can assess where you are in your work and kind of what are the habits, what are the different things that you're doing that you may or may not be aware of. What I love about my work and working in this way is that I've had the opportunity to really help people discover their own spiritual connection. I can think of one of my students who has been searching for spiritual experiences for the last 45 years of his life, and unfortunately has always come up. His saying was, I never experience anything. I never know that any of this is real. And so what was awesome about working with me is that within 3 sessions, he was able to feel the presence of spirit, know that they're there, and also start to expand and develop his ability. So I feel really, really excited and confident in the kinds of time-tested techniques and sense of awareness that I focus on with my students. So let's jump into the next question. What is your mentoring style? So what I love about my mentoring style, and also what I've heard from so many of my students, is they really appreciate that it's fully one-on-one attention. And so what that means is this isn't a big giant group of people that I'm all working with all at once, and that you're just hearing lectures and you're just doing that, and then you're just supposed to be kind of learning as you go. It's actually specific, detailed, personalized mentoring for you. And so I know that a lot of my students have commented that this has helped them so much, because oftentimes when you're in these bigger groups, you don't really get that time period with the instructor on your own. So I have found this to be an invaluable part of what I do and something that I actually get the most fulfillment out of. So I really love that part myself, and I think it benefits my students the most. One of the cornerstones of my work is that it's all founded on grounded, practical, evidence-based mediumship. So it's going to be super important for myself and my students to see results, to see that what I'm giving you is actually something coming from the spirit world rather than coming from me. So we do this through personal experience and my years of knowledge, as well as being influenced and guided by the spirit. So when we're actually working together, I will often allow the spirit world to impress me with what's going on with you and what might be needed. So you really get the help of the spirit world helping you along the way as well. My style in general is going to be coming out of spiritualism as part of my development, since I developed over in the UK and in the spiritualist tradition. However, also taking a lot of modern approaches to mediumship as well, that can sometimes be lacking necessarily in the spiritualist sort of way of working. Lastly, one of the really surprising things that I've noticed within my years of teaching and with mentoring is how, as we cultivate your ability to understand your mediumistic awareness and some of the principles that you have to really take on board through our mediumistic awareness, actually ends up impacting other areas of life. So people start to learn how to trust themselves more as they've learned to trust the spirit. They learn to have confidence in what they get, so they grow the confidence within themselves. And so this is really interesting byproduct. It's kind of that old saying that the way you do one thing is the way that you do everything. And so I have found that as we start to change these sort of inner workings with ourselves through working with our spiritual self, we also end up getting the benefit of it impacting other areas as well. So that brings us to our next question. What do you look for with a mentorship student? So one of the biggest and most important things with any student that's going to come and work with me, and I always tell them, is my hope is that you can be open-minded. That means to me that you are willing to take on board the suggestions that I'm giving you, that you don't come with your cup already full. So by that I mean, I need you to come to me willing to try things differently, willing to do things that maybe feel uncomfortable at times, but always know that there's always going to be this safe, supportive environment to do that. It's really important to me that my students be open-minded to the journey, because as we are in our development, there's times where it's going to be more challenging, times it's going to be more easy. So what we need to learn is that's all part of this journey of development. So coming with the most open mind, that's going to give you the best results. The kind of student that I want is one that's looking for genuine connection to the spirit world. And so what I mean by that is that it's not just this thing that I want to do to look cool or have a cool little trick. It's about spiritualizing the self. It's about understanding that really the journey of my mediumistic work isn't to go just be some famous person, but rather it's for me to really understand what is my own spiritual truth, what is my own spirit trying to convey, and what is possible when I learn how to get out of the way and let the spirit world work through me. And so as a result, I always look for students who are going to show patience and commitment to the work. Rome was not built in a day, and neither is going to be your mediumship. And so we have to learn how to be patient with that process. I know that my own development is actually what developed my sense of patience. But before that, I wanted everything yesterday. With these principles in mind, it really rounds out this idea of trusting that the spirit world is going to show us how they can work with us best. So being open-minded, that maybe you go into it thinking it's going to be one thing, but then realizing, wow, actually maybe I work better when I work this way with spirit. So it's just really letting the spirit world show you, teach you their reality, and then however that shows up the best for you, that's what we're going to work on for you. So the next question I often get is, are there limited spaces? Yes, there are limited spaces, because I want to be able to devote 100% of my time and energy to each student that I take on board. So by limiting how many people that I'm going to be working with at one time or in 1 month, that helps me to be able to make sure I'm giving quality time to each and every one. If there aren't any spaces available when you do request to get into the mentorship, just know I do have a wait list, and so you will be added to that, and as soon as something becomes available, we'll get in contact with you. And finally, what happens when our mentorship is over? So when our mentorship is over, our 4 weeks, you have a couple of options. One, you can renew your mentorship so that you can keep going and we can keep working together one-on-one. Or I also teach weekly classes, and these are ongoing, and so they'll be in mental mediumship trance, so you're welcome to jump in on one of those. And then you can also always leave and come back. So as long as there's a space, you can always rejoin. I hope this answered any questions that you had. And if you have any more, feel free to reach out to me. I always love hearing from new people. And so you can reach me at mediummichaelmayo@gmail.com. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about my mentorship program, and I look forward to guiding you on your journey.